The Valanthori Empire was old. It stretched across 14 star systems, and its people had ruled the darkness between stars for longer than most species had existed. They were beautiful in a cold way. Their bodies were made of living crystal that caught light and turned it into rainbows. They spoke through music and glowing colors that rippled across their skin. To other species, they looked like gods. But the Valanthori had a strange custom. A cruel one, though they did not see it that way. Their children were born without names. In Valanthori society, a name was not a gift. It was a reward. Royal children were called by numbers until they proved themselves worthy through centuries of perfect service. Only then would the emperor grant them a true name. Only then would they become real people. She was called Designation 7, the seventh daughter of the emperor, the forgotten one. For 300 years, she had served her empire. She had managed trade routes, settled disputes between colonies, and never once complained. She had watched her older siblings earn their names one by one. She had attended their naming ceremonies and felt nothing but a hollow ache in her chest. Now, she stood at the window of a small space station. Looking down at a blue and green planet called Earth, this was her new assignment. The most unimportant post in the entire empire. Humans. She was here to watch over humans. The Valanthori considered them primitive. They lived for less than a century. They were loud and emotional and strange. They gave names to everything, even their pets, even their machines, even their food. The idea was almost offensive to Valanthori sensibilities. Designation 7 did not expect much from this assignment. It was clearly a punishment, though no one had told her what she had done wrong. Perhaps existing as the seventh daughter was crime enough. The station was small and simple. A handful of Valanthori workers and a rotating group of human diplomats. Nothing important ever happened here. Nothing ever would, or so she thought. The shuttle from Earth arrived on a Tuesday. Designation 7 did not normally greet the human diplomats herself. That task was beneath her rank. But she was bored and curious, and tired of staring at reports that did not matter. She stood in the docking bay as the shuttle doors opened. The human who stepped out was not what she expected. He was tall for his species, with dark hair that was turning gray at the edges and warm brown skin. His eyes were the color of earth after rain. He moved with confidence, but not arrogance. And when he saw her, he smiled. Not a polite smile, a real one. Like he was genuinely happy to see her. "Captain Marcus Chin," he said, extending his hand in the human greeting gesture. "I'm the new diplomatic liaison. You must be the station commander." Designation 7 looked at his hand for a moment before remembering the human custom. She touched her crystalline fingers to his palm briefly. His skin was so warm, so soft, so terribly fragile. "I am Designation 7, she said. "Seventh daughter of Emperor Valthros. Welcome to Station Outreach." Marcus Chen's smile flickered. Something changed in his eyes. It was not fear or respect or boredom. It was something she could not identify. "Sorry," he said slowly. "Did you say Designations 7? "Yes, that's your name?" "Designation 7. She felt a strange defensiveness rise in her chest. "It is my title. I have not yet earned a true name." Marcus stared at her. His expression was difficult to read. Humans showed their emotions so openly, yet she could not understand what she was seeing on his face. "How long have you served the Empire?" he asked. 300 years? 300 years, he repeated. His voice was quiet now. "And they still haven't given you a name?" No one had ever said it like that before. No one had ever made it sound like something was wrong. Among her people, this was simply how things were. You served. You've proved yourself. Eventually, if you were worthy, you were named. "It is our way," she said stiffly. Marcus Chen shook his head. The gesture was small, but she saw it. She saw the way his jaw tightened. She saw something flash in his eyes that looked almost like anger. "That's not a name," he said. "That's a number." Designation 7 did not know what to say. In 300 years, No one had ever spoken to her like this. No one had ever looked at her like she was a person who deserved more than she had been given. She straightened, crystalline spine. "I will have someone show you to your quarters, Captain Chen. I trust you will find them adequate." She turned to leave. She wanted to get away from this strange human and his strange questions and the strange feelings they stirred inside her. "Your Highness." She stopped. The words were soft, but they hit her like a physical force. She turned back slowly. Marcus Chen was still standing there, still looking at her with those warm, wet, impossibly expressive eyes. "What did you call me?" she asked. "Your Highness," he said. "You're a princess, aren't you? The daughter of an emperor. Where I come from, that means something. You deserve to be addressed with respect." Designation 7 felt her crystalline form hum with a frequency she did not recognize. It was not unpleasant. It was not pleasant either. It was something new. Something she had not felt in 300 years of existence. "You are strange, Captain Chen," she said finally. He laughed. The sound was bright and warm and utterly alien. "I've been told that before. Usually by people who end up liking me anyway." She did not know how to respond to that, so she simply nodded and walked away, her crystal footsteps echoing in the empty corridor. That night, alone in her quarters, she stood at the window and looked at the stars. She thought about names. She thought about numbers. She thought about a human who had looked at her like she was someone worth knowing. For 300 years, she had accepted her place in the universe. She was designations, unnamed, unimportant, waiting for a recognition that might never come. But now, for the first time, a small crack had formed in that acceptance. A human had seen her, really seen her, and he had been troubled by what he found. She pressed her crystalline hand against the cold glass of the window. "What's your name?" He had asked such a simple question, such an obvious question, and yet no one in 3 centuries had ever thought to ask it. Perhaps humans were not as primitive as she had been. Told, perhaps they understood something the Valentheri had. Forgotten, she did not sleep that night. She stood at the window and watched Earth turn slowly in the darkness. And she wondered what it would feel like to have a name. The weeks passed slowly on station outreach. Designation 7 found herself doing something she had never done before. She found herself looking forward to each day. It was because of the human, Marcus Chen. He refused to call her Designation 7. At first, she corrected him. Then she stopped correcting him. Then she started to enjoy the way he said, "Your Highness," like it actually meant something. They met often, too often for it to be an accident. He would find her in the observation deck, or the dining hall, or the library. He would sit down across from her and ask questions, strange questions, questions no Valentheri had ever asked her. "What do you like to do?" he asked one evening. "When you're not working, what makes you happy?" She stared at him. The question did not make sense. "I am always working. Service to the Empire's happiness." Marcus raised one eyebrow. It was a very human expression. That's what they taught you to say. "But what do you actually enjoy?" "Music, art, games, reading." Designation 7 thought about it. Really thought about it. And she realized she did not know. She had never been asked. She had never been given permission to want things for herself. "I do not know," she admitted quietly. Marcus did not laugh. He did not look disappointed. He simply nodded, like her answer made perfect sense. "Then maybe it's time to find out," he said. He began bringing her things. Human things. Music that made strange sounds she had never heard before. Books filled with stories about people who fell in love and fought battles and discovered new worlds. Food that tasted like nothing on her homeworld, spicy and sweet and sour all at once. She did not understand why he did this. She asked him once. "Because everyone deserves to know what they like," he said simply. "Everyone deserves to have interests and hobbies and favorite things. That's not a luxury. That's just being a person, being a person." She thought about those words for a long time. Late one night, when the station was quiet and the stars burned cold outside her window, she did something forbidden. She accessed the ancient Valentheri archives. The records from before the naming laws were created, What she found made her crystalline heart crack. Her people had not always been this way. Thousands of years ago, Valentheri children were named at birth. Their mothers whispered names to them before they even opened their eyes. Names that meant hope and starlight and beloved. Names that were gifts, not rewards. Then the emperor of that age had declared that names made people selfish. Names made them think of themselves as individuals instead of servants of the empire. Unnamed workers were more obedient. Unnamed soldiers were more willing to die, so the names were taken away. The old naming language was forbidden. The records were hidden. Within a few generations, no one remembered that things had ever been. Different daughter designation -7 sat in the darkness of her quarters and felt something she had never felt before. Anger, deep, and hot and dangerous. They had stolen something from her. Something she did not even know she had lost. The next day she told Marcus what she had found. She did not know why she trusted him. She only knew that she did. He listened without interrupting. His face grew darker with each word. By the time she finished, his hands were clenched into fists. "That's monstrous," he said. His voice was tight, controlled. "They took your names. They took your mother's right to name their children. And they told you it was normal?" "It is our tradition," she said. But the words felt hollow now, empty. "Traditions that make people feel worthless aren't traditions worth keeping," Marcus said. 300 years of service, and they treat you like a serial number. What kind of civilization does that to its own children? She wanted to defend her people. She wanted to explain that it was not cruelty. It was simply their way. But she could not make the words come out. Because she had read the old archives, she had seen what her people used to be. And she knew, deep in her crystal bones, that something precious had been stolen from them. "My mother," she said softly. "She would have named me. If she had been allowed." Marcus moved closer. His warm human presence was comforting in a way she could not explain. "Days," he said. "She would have. Every mother wants to name her child. It's one of the most basic forms of love. Love. Another word the Valantheri did not use. Another thing they had forgotten. "I have served for 300 years, she whispered. The words hurt to speak. "I have done everything they asked. I have been perfect. And I have never been loved enough to be named." Marcus's eyes were wet. She had learned that humans leaked water from their eyes when they felt strong emotions. She had thought it was strange at first. Now she understood. Some feelings were too big to hold inside. "Then your empire doesn't deserve you," Marcus said. "You're not a number. You're not a designation. You're a person. A kind, curious, intelligent person who has been treated terribly by people who should have protected her. No one had ever spoken to her like this. No one had ever seen her as something more than her rank and her duty. Why do you care?" she asked. "I am not human. I am not your responsibility." Marcus smiled. It was a sad smile, but there was warmth in it. "Where I come from, we have a saying. A person's name is the first gift of love they ever receive. My grandmother told me that. She said names are sacred. They're how we tell someone they matter. They're how we say, 'I see you. You're real. You exist.'" He reached out and touched her crystalline hand. His fingers were so warm against her cold surface. "You exist," he said. "You matter. And somewhere in those old archives, there's a name that your mother wanted to give you. A name that means who you really are." Designations Evan looked at this strange, short-lived, impossibly kind human. She felt the crack in her heart grow wider. Not with pain, but with something new. Something that felt like hope. "Will you help me find it?" she asked. Marcus smiled. A real smile this time. "Full of light? I thought you'd never ask." That night, they began searching the archives together. It was forbidden. It was dangerous. If anyone found out, she would be punished severely. But for the first time in 300 years, she did not care about the rules. She cared about finding her name. The warning came without warning. A massive Valanthori warship dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Station Outreach. It was beautiful and terrible, a crystal dagger the size of a mountain, glowing with the light of captured stars. Designation 7 knew that ship. Everyone in the Empire knew that ship. It belonged to Designation 1, the Supreme Commander, the eldest son of the Emperor, the most powerful unnamed royal in the galaxy. Her brother, she had not spoken to him in over a century. He was always busy conquering new worlds and crushing rebellions. He had no time for forgotten sisters on forgotten stations. So why was he here now? The answer came quickly. He requested a private meeting. No guards, no witnesses, just the two of them in her quarters. He was tall, even for a Velanthari. His crystalline body was darker than hers, the color of deep space, and his eyes burned with cold light. He did not greet her. He did not bow. He simply stood in the center of her room and looked at her like he was trying to see through her. "You have been accessing the forbidden archives," he said. His voice was flat, dangerous. Her heart went cold. They had found out. Someone had traced her searches. She was going to be punished, perhaps even dissolved, her consciousness scattered to nothing. But she did not look away. She had learned something from Marcus Chen. She had learned that some things were worth standing up for. "Yes," she said. "I have." Designation 1 tilted his head. A small movement, but she saw surprise flicker across his face. "You admit it? Just like that? Would lying change anything?" He was quiet for a long moment. Then he did something unexpected. He laughed. It was not a warm laugh like Marcus's. It was short and bitter and full of old pain. "Oh," he said. "It would not." He moved to her window and looked out at the stars. His reflection was a dark ghost on the glass. "I have searched the archives too," he said quietly. Designation 7 felt her breath catch. She had not expected this. "You have. Many times. Over many years." He turned to face her. "I wanted to know why we are the way we are. Why we are numbers instead of names. I found the same things you found. The old language. The stolen names. The lies she did not understand. Then why have you not done anything? You are the Supreme Commander. You have power. You could change things." His eyes flickered with something that looked almost like pain. "Could I? The Emperor watches everything, questions everything. Anyone who threatens the naming laws is destroyed. I have seen it happen. I have been forced to make it happen." He looked down at his hands. Hands that had done terrible things in the name of an empire that would not even give him a name. "I have waited 300 years to earn my true name," he said. "I have conquered worlds, destroyed fleets, proven myself in every way imaginable. And still the Emperor says, I am not ready. Still he holds my name above me like a prize I can never quite reach." Designation 7 understood then. Her brother was not here to arrest her. He was here because he was tired, because he had found someone who shared his secret pain. "Why are you telling me this?" she asked. "Because you are doing something I never had the courage to do. You are not just searching, you are questioning. The station's communication logs show you have been spending time with the human diplomat. He is filling your head with dangerous ideas." She felt a flash of protectiveness. "Leave him out of this." Designation 1 raised an eyebrow. "Interesting. You care about him. A creature who will be dead in decades while we live for millennia. Sees me," she said. "He sees me as a person. Not as a number. Not as a princess. Just as someone who matters." Her brother was quiet for a long time. When he spoke again, his voice was softer. "I came here to warn you. The Emperor has noticed the archive access. He is sending investigators. You must stop what you are doing or you will be destroyed." She should have been afraid. She should have promised to obey. That was what the old Designation 7 would have done, but she was not the same person anymore. Marcus had changed her. The archives had changed her. She had tasted something forbidden, and she could not go back to pretending she had never been hungry. "No," she said. Designation 1 stared at her. "What did you say?" "I said no. I will not stop. I will not pretend anymore. Our people have been living a lie for thousands of years. Someone has to tell them the truth. They will destroy you. Then they will destroy me. She lifted her chin. But I will not die unnamed and forgotten. I will not serve an empire that sees me as a number. If that makes me a traitor, then I will be a traitor. Her brother looked at her for a long moment. Something shifted in his eyes. Something that looked almost like respect. You have changed, little sister. I have woken up. He moved toward the door. He paused with his hand on the frame. The investigators arrive in 3 days, he said. I suggest you use that time wisely. Then he was gone. That night, Designation 7 made a decision. She would not hide anymore. She would not search the archives in secret and hope no one noticed. She would share what she had found. With everyone, she found an old communication frequency, one that had not been used in thousands of years, a frequency from before the naming laws. She connected to it and began to broadcast. She spoke of the old language. She spoke of the stolen names. She spoke of mothers who had once whispered love into their children's ears before the Empire. Took that right away. She did not know if anyone was listening. She did not know if anyone would care, but she spoke anyway, because some truths are too important to keep silent. When she finished, she found Marcus waiting outside her door. That was brave, he said. That was foolish, she answered. I have just made myself an enemy of the Empire. He smiled that warm human smile. Then it's a good thing you have friends. She looked at him, this strange creature from a primitive world, and she felt something she had never felt before. Gratitude, connection, maybe even the beginnings of love. Thank you, she said. For seeing me. Always, he said. Now come on. We have work to do. If you're going to start a revolution, you might as well do it properly. She laughed. It was a strange sound, coming from her crystalline throat. She could not remember the last time she had laughed. Perhaps she never had, but she was learning now. She was learning what it meant to be a person, and she was never going back. The Emperor's response came faster than anyone expected. A decree was broadcast across all 14 star systems. The words were cold and formal, but their meaning was clear. Designation 7 was to be dissolved. Her consciousness would be scattered. Her crystalline form would be shattered into dust. Every record of her existence would be erased. In the eyes of the Empire, she would have never existed at all. The crime? Treason against the natural order. Spreading forbidden knowledge. Attempting to corrupt the purity of Elanthari society. The punishment would be carried out in 7 days. Designation 1 came to the station one last time. His face was hard, but his eyes told a different story. I tried to stop it, he said. I spoke to the Emperor myself. It did not matter. He has decided to make an example of you. I know, she said. She was surprised by how calm she felt. Perhaps this was what peace felt like. The peace of knowing you had done the right thing, even if it cost you everything. I can give you time, her brother said. 12 hours. Enough to reach neutral space. The humans would give you shelter. Your diplomat has powerful friends on his world. Marcus stepped forward. He had been listening from the corner of the room. She would be welcome on Earth. We would protect her. We would never hand her over. Designation 7 looked at him. This human who had taught her what it meant to be seen. This human who had given her hope when she had none. Thank you, she said, but I cannot run. Marcus's face went pale. What? If I run, the movement dies. Thousands of unnamed have heard my broadcasts. They are beginning to wake up just as I did. They are beginning to question. If I flee like a coward, they will lose hope. The Emperor will say, I was a liar and a traitor, and everyone will believe him. If you stay, you will die, Marcus said. His voice was tight with emotion. Perhaps, but I will die speaking the truth. And maybe that truth will live on after I am gone. Marcus shook his head. There was water gathering in his eyes. Human tears. She had learned to recognize them as a sign of deep feeling. There has to be another way, he said. There has to be something we can do. Designation 1 looked between them. Something flickered across his face. a decision being made. There might be one thing, he said slowly. Our laws are ancient. They have loopholes that even the Emperor must respect. If you returned to the homeworld and demanded a formal hearing, you could speak before the Council of Names. It has not been done in centuries, but the right still exists. What good would that do? Marcus asked. It would give her a platform. A chance to speak the truth before the highest powers in the Empire. The hearing would be broadcast to every system. Billions would hear her words. Designation 7 felt something stir in her chest. Not quite hope, but something close to it. And then they would still kill me, she said. Yes, almost certainly. But your words would be heard. Your truth would be known. And once truth is spoken, it cannot be unspoken. She looked at her brother. She looked at Marcus. Two very different people who had shown her kindness in very different ways. I will do it, she said. I will return to the homeworld. I will speak before the council, and I will demand something our people have forgotten how to ask for. What? Marcus asked. My name? At. Her crystalline form glowed with soft light. I will demand my name. The night before she was to leave, Marcus came to her quarters. He looked tired. He had not slept in days. He had been working on something, but he would not tell her what. Now he stood before her with trembling hands and bright eyes. I found it, he said. She did not understand. Found what? Your name. He breathed the words like a prayer. Your real name. The one your mother gave you. She felt her entire being go still. The universe seemed to stop spinning. That is impossible, she whispered. The records were destroyed thousands of years ago. The records were scattered, Marcus said. Broken. Hidden, but not destroyed. I have spent every moment since you told me about the archives putting the pieces together. Human linguists have studied dozens of dead languages. We know how to find patterns and fragments. We know how to rebuild what was broken. He stepped closer. His human warmth wrapped around her like a blanket. Your mother was a scholar before she became empress. She kept private journals. Hidden ones. I found fragments of them in the deep archives. She wrote about you. About all of her children. About the names she wished she could give you. Designation 7 could not speak. She could not move. She could only listen. She wrote about her seventh daughter, Marcus continued. His voice was shaking now. She wrote about the light in your eyes when you were born. She wrote about the name she whispered to you in the darkness. When no one else could hear, he took her crystalline hand in both of his warm human ones. Your name is Alindra, he said. The word hit her like a thunderbolt. It resonated through her crystalline form, activating frequencies that had been silent for 300 years. She felt herself vibrate with a sound she had never made before. Her true sound? Her name, Alindra, Marcus said again. It means light that defies darkness in the old tongue. Your mother named you that because she knew who you were from the moment you existed. She knew you would burn bright even in the darkest places. Designation 7 felt something crack inside her. Not the small crack that had formed when Marcus first asked her name. This was bigger. This was everything breaking open at once. She was weeping. She did not know her people could weep. But something like tears was falling from her eyes, crystalline drops that chimed like bells when they hit the floor. How? She managed to ask. How did you find this? Marcus smiled through his own tears. Humans are really good at remembering things that matter. We evolved to recognize patterns, to preserve stories, to hold on to names across generations. Where the Velanthari saw scattered data, I saw a puzzle. And humans have been solving puzzles since we painted on cave walls. He squeezed her hand. Your mother loved you, Alindra. She loved you so much that she defied the Emperor himself to give you a name. And even though they tried to erase it, even though they tried to make you forget that love survived, it was waiting for someone to find it. It was waiting for you, Alindra. Her name, her true name, the first gift of love she had ever received. She pulled Marcus close and held him tightly. His fragile human body felt so precious in her arms. This creature who had given her back herself? Thank you, she said. The words were not enough. No words would ever be enough. Always, he said. Now go face your emperor and tell them your name, she would. She would stand before the highest powers in the galaxy, and she would speak the truth. Her name was Elindra, and she was done being silent. The throne room of the Valanthari Emperor was the most beautiful place in the galaxy. Crystal spires rose toward a ceiling of captured starlight. The floor was made of compressed nebula dust that swirled with color beneath every step. Thousands of courtiers filled the vast space, their crystalline bodies creating a symphony of light. At the center of it all sat Emperor Valethros. He was ancient. His crystal had grown dark with age, cracked in places, repaired with veins of gold. He had ruled for 4,000 years. He had created the naming laws. He had stolen the names of countless generations. And now his seventh daughter stood before him, demanding what he had taken. Elindra did not bow. She stood straight and tall, her crystal catching the light of 1,000 stars. Beside her stood Marcus Chen, the human diplomat, who had refused to let her face this alone. The courtiers whispered at his presence. A human in the throne room. It had never happened before. You have been charged with treason, the emperor said. His voice echoed through the chamber like thunder. You have spread forbidden knowledge. You have encouraged rebellion against the natural order. The penalty is dissolution. Do you have anything to say before sentence is carried out? Elindra looked at her father. She had feared him her entire life. But she was not afraid anymore. Marcus had taught her that some things were worth more than fear. I have much to say, she answered, and by ancient law, you must let me speak. The emperor's eyes narrowed. He knew the law she meant, the right to address the council before judgment. It had not been invoked in centuries, but it could not be denied. Speak then, he said. It will change nothing. Elindra turned to face the assembled courtiers. Thousands of crystalline faces looked back at her. Beyond them, she knew, billions more were watching. Her words were being broadcast to every corner of the empire. I was born 300 years ago, she began. I was named Designation 7. I was told that I had no identity until I earned one. I was told that this was normal, that this was right, that this was how things had always been. She paused. The throne room was silent. I was told a lie. A murmur rippled through the crowd. The emperor's face hardened. Our ancestors had names, Elindra continued. Mothers named their children at birth. Names were gifts of love, not rewards for service. This was our way for millions of years, until one emperor decided that unnamed workers were easier to control. Unnamed soldiers were easier to sacrifice. Unnamed children were easier to break. She pointed at her father. He stole our names. He stole our mother's right to love us. He told us we were nothing until we proved ourselves worthy, and we believed him. Because what else could we do? We did not know any. Different. The crowd was stirring now. She could see confusion on some faces, recognition on others, anger on a few. But I know different now. A human taught me. A creature from a species we consider primitive. He asked me a simple question that no Valanthari had ever asked. He asked me my name. She looked at Marcus. He smiled at her, warm and proud. And when I could not answer, he did not accept it. He did not say that is simply how things are. He said that is wrong. And he was right. Marcus stepped forward. The guards moved to stop him, but the emperor raised a hand. He was curious. He wanted to see what this human would do. I spent weeks searching your archives, Marcus said. His voice carried through the chamber, translated by the station's systems. I found the fragments of the old naming language. I found the records of birth names that were supposed to be destroyed. And I found something else. He held up a small device, a human data pad. I found the names of everyone in this room. The crowd erupted. Courtiers shouted in disbelief. Guards moved forward. The emperor rose from his throne. Valethros roared. The chamber fell quiet. You lie? Those records were destroyed millennia ago. They were scattered, Marcus said calmly. They were hidden. But they were not destroyed. Human linguists have been working for days, reconstructing the old language, matching birth records to genetic signatures. We have recovered thousands of names, perhaps millions, given more time. He pressed a button on the device. Throughout the chamber, personal communicators began to chime. Every courtier, every guard, every servant received a message. A single word, a name. Alendra watched as the change rippled through the room. She saw crystalline faces go still. She saw bodies begin to vibrate with frequencies they had never made before. She saw the moment when hundreds of Valenthari heard their true names for the first time. Some fell to their knees. Some wept crystalline tears. Some simply stood frozen, overwhelmed by the feeling of being whole for the first time in their lives. The Emperor's guards lowered their weapons. They were staring at their own communicators. At their own names, "Stop this," Valethros commanded. But his voice had lost its power. No one was listening to him anymore. A figure stepped forward from the crowd. Designation 1. The Supreme Commander. The eldest son. "My name," he said, his voice shaking, "is Velerin. It means courage and stillness. My mother named me before I drew my first breath." He turned to face the Emperor. His father, the man who had stolen everything from him. "You took our names. You took our mother's love. You told us we were nothing until we earned the right to exist. But we were always someone. We were always named." One by one, other voices rose. Courtiers speaking their true names. Guards declaring their identities. Servants standing tall for the first time in centuries. The Emperor's power was crumbling. Not through violence. Not through war. But through something far more powerful. Through identity reclaimed. Valethros looked at his seventh daughter. His eyes were full of rage and something else. Something that might have been fear. "You have destroyed everything I built," he said. "No," Alendra answered. "I have restored everything you stole." The Emperor was taken away by his own guards. He would face judgment for his crimes. Not from an angry mob, but from a council of the newly named Justice. It's not revenge. In the days that followed, the Empire transformed. The naming laws were abolished. Parents whispered names to their newborn children. The old language was taught in schools again, and humans were no longer considered primitive. They were honored as the species that had shown the Valenthari what they had forgotten. On the day Marcus was scheduled to return to Earth, Alendra found him in the shuttle bay. He was packed and ready. His eyes were wet. "You could stay," she said. He smiled sadly. "I could, but Earth is my home. My people need me there, and you have a galaxy to rebuild." She knew he was right, but it hurt anyway. "Why did you do this?" she asked, the question she had wanted to ask since the beginning. "We were not your people. Our empire treated humanity as primitive. Why did you fight for us?" Marcus shrugged. It was such a human gesture. Small and simple and full of meaning. "Because where I come from, everyone deserves a name. Everyone deserves to be remembered. That's not a human thing or a Valenthari thing. It's just the right thing." Lindra felt tears gathering in her eyes again. She was still getting used to the feeling. "Then let me give you something in return," she said. "In the old tongue, there is a word for someone who returns what was stolen, who carries memory when others forget, who sees a person when others see only a number." She placed her crystalline hand over his heart. She felt it beating beneath her fingers. So fragile, so precious, so alive, she spoke his new name. His Valenthari name. A name that meant restorer of light. Marcus's eyes went wide. She saw him feel what she had felt when he spoke her name. The vibration, the recognition, the sense of being truly seen. "Thank you," he whispered. "Always," she answered. He boarded his shuttle. She watched it fly toward the blue and green, its planet called Earth. She watched until it was just a point of light among the stars. Then she turned and walked. Back into her new world, a world where everyone had a name, a world where no one would ever be forgotten again. She was Alendra. Light that defies darkness, and she had a human to thank for reminding her who she was.